Où était cette force?
Where was this force when thousands and thousands of Nigerians were killed by terrorists?
Où était cette force lorsque des milliers de Maliens debout?
Where was this force when thousands of Malians of Burkina Faso died under the bullets of terrorists?
In this video you're about to watch, you'll see a hungry and a fearless Ibrahim Traore denouncing what ECOWAS have done to Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger. This is the most powerful and courageous speech of the young president Ibrahim Traore. I want you to pay more attention to this powerful speech so that you can understand on how Ibrahim Traore exposed African leaders, because things are changing in Africa continent and Africa needs such young leader as Julius Malema or Ibrahim Traore, who have the courage to come and expose the mafia of the African leaders who are at the service of the Western power. Watch this video more carefully, then I'll be back with more analysis.
Ici, nous allons vous expliquer pourquoi.
Here, we will explain why we left the ECOWAS and where we are going. Remember that it was in 1975 that it was created, and it was created for the majority of state leaders, putschists, as they like to say. It was the military who took the power and took the responsibility to create ECOWAS so that there is a real economic growth of the people inside this space. Later, the so-called Democrats invited themselves to the heads of our states. They completely emptied the community of its foundation. When on July 26th, Niger decided to take its destiny into their own hands, we were surprised to see ECOWAS appear after some days with a force awaiting. Where was this force when thousands and thousands of Nigerians were killed by terrorists? Where was this force when thousands of Malians of Burkina Faso died under the bullets of terrorists? They said that by force they were going to evict the valiant sons of Niger who took the destiny into their own hands. Do you think that these are women who are in Niger? There are fighters there. The Nigerian army are warriors. They have been fighting for years. It is not a parade army or a peacekeeping army. And the armies of the ECOWAS have decided to unite. We are waiting for this force. These so-called Democrats must understand that when thousands of Nigerians die in hospital beds due to lack of electricity or lack of medication, it is a crime.
C'est du crime. Ils sont responsables de ces sanctions, ils sont responsables de ces morts.
They are responsible for these sanctions. They are responsible for these deaths. The same thing happens in Mali. With Burkina Faso, we have indirect sanctions. Because people must understand that when they take their orders from the other side, they come and do everything to apply it. It is shameful. Some have decided not to provide electricity to our countries. It is not free. We pay, and it contributes to their economy. They tried to make Mali suffer, and of course by ignoring all the texts and not giving electricity to Mali, hoping that the population would revolt. It didn't work. When it lasted, some were forced to make their own people pay by increasing the cost of electricity. It will increase again. This gives us several lessons. Several lessons in the sense that the independence we take, the sovereignty we take, we must do everything for it to be. They gave us very good lessons, and we understood them very well. Some closed their ports, which goes against all international texts, because you can't close a port in a landlocked country. They did it. They violated the texts. The international community didn't say a word. No one spoke in the ECOWAS. But in the ports, we don't let our goods pass for free. We pay. And those who do it collect the broken pots today. And I think it's a lesson for them too, that we must never apply the instructions of their masters. They must understand it forever. The ECOWAS never made a statement to congratulate a victory of our armies. The ECOWAS only condemns the end of the world, and very rarely when there are massacres. Where is this ECOWAS of peoples? In short, we can't mention all the harm that was done to our peoples, but we have decided with all our heart and conscience to withdraw and focus on our common organization, which is AES. Why are you afraid? Remember that there is no fear, because by prospecting and putting us to work, we have noticed one thing. Recently, some have decided to prohibit the export of certain food products to Burkina Faso. Very well. They have given a deadline. We will ensure that at the end of this deadline, we will prohibit the entry of these products into our territory. We are capable. We are capable, and we are very capable. We have had a lot of experience this year, and I can assure you that in terms of food, Burkina Faso can be self-sufficient, and we have brave peasants. We will put everything in place so that our peasants can work their land and cultivate it with dignity. And I challenge anyone who doubts this, that if we decide today in Burkina Faso to be the first exporter of cocoa in 3 or 5 years, we will be. Because we can. On industrialization, several projects are underway for 2024. We are not going to quote them here, but we are going to do everything we can to make this project happen in 2024. When you talk about the economy, some people, when you listen to them, feel pity. They don't even have the courage to make the people understand that there is less than 5% of economic exchange between the states of the ECOWAS. Because everything we export comes from the space outside the ECOWAS, our imports for the majority. And everything we export comes from outside the ECOWAS. The intellectual dishonesty of some makes them unable to say it, because they are slaves. They can't tell you that so that you can be confident. But I invite you to remain confident, serene, unperturbed, because we can.
nous pouvons avoir cette indépendance.
We can have this independence, both in terms of food and in terms of industry.
C'est possible et
It
nous
is
sommes
possible,
lancés sur ce chemin.
and we are on this path.
Donc, les propos qui tendent à vous faire peur, qui tendent à semer la panique,
So, the words that tend to scare you, that tend to sow panic, you have to leave them. We will get to work, and we will get there.
et pour terminer,
And to finish,
je lance donc un appel à tous les peuples
I call on all the people of the AES, through you, to remain united and united.
solidaires.
All suffering has an end.
France
The struggle that we have engaged in is hard,
engagée
but you have to keep your head on your shoulders, because the fatal weapon of imperialism is still manipulation through communication.
parce que l'arme fatale de l'impérialisme reste la manipulation à travers la communication. Sachez reconnaître les valets locaux.
Know how to recognize the local valets.
Les esclaves
Know how to recognize the slaves of the saloon.
reconnaître tous
Know how to recognize everything that we owe you to come and sell you false information.
pour vous-même. Restez serein et ne vous divisez pas.
For yourself, remain calm and do not divide yourself,
Manège dans son
because imperialism has 1,000 tricks up its sleeve. You have to be vigilant, vigilant and very vigilant.
Thomas Sankara used to say, a slave who's not capable to assume his revolution does not deserve to stay in the land of his ancestors. He goes on saying that a slave that does not have the power to stand against the oppressors in order for him or her to free themselves up from their colonials, this slave, they will suffer the consequences of their betrayal. Why Thomas Sankara had to say such kind of words? Of course, it is because he knew very well that the oppressors, the former colonials, the Belgium, the France, the British, Portugal, all these countries, whenever they were here in Africa, they were not having a easy access to colonize Africans and to take control of the entire African continent without the help of our fellow African brothers. They had some intruders who had to give them certain kind of informations that will make them be to make their job become even more easy. And that is how Thomas Sankara had understand exactly that we need at least to pass this kind of message to our fellow Africans, because our fellow Africans, they are kind of like following in the trap of the Western power, and they were doing that because they want to have a special treatment which is different to other fellow Africans. I'm gonna put this in a very easy example. These sell-out, as I like to call them, they like to cooperate or to work with the oppressors, which is the Western former colonial countries, in order for them to have that easy access on certain things. For an example, they'll come up with a certain informations which they're supposed to be keeping for Africans. They'll go and sell it out to these former colonials in exchange for the former colonials to give them a certain kind of treatment, maybe by nominating them as a president, or maybe giving them some office where they'll sit and they'll be surviving well in good conditions with their families. So in the time of Thomas Sankara, this is something that he had learned and understand exactly, and he had to give this message to all African youth, to all Pan-Africans who were fighting back then, and tell them that no, you can't declare or claim your freedom when you still be afraid of your colonials, and when you are not willing to stand on your own to at least fight so that you can finally have this freedom. And he also realized that a lot of Africans, they were busy selling their brothers, and that is how the system of the Western managed to be implemented all over around continent, all over around Africa continent, all because they were having some inside informations which was benefiting them. And why now Ibrahim Traore, who he have to come today and have this kind of saying again about the same thing? Of course, this man, He's saying like this because he had to clarify things. Unfortunately, I did not get a chance to play the whole entire video. But listening to him very well, in the beginning of his speech, the man said that silence is not an option. Because when you keep a silence, especially in the world of today, where we are having the Western with their medias, they are busy doing bad propagandas to wash out and clean all detectors in Africa and incriminate and say false lies against the true Pan-Africans. So there is no need for us as Africans to keep quiet when we have something to say. And he said some people, they were even suggesting to him, saying that he should not be the man who speak quite a lot about what he does or what is happening in his country. But he said silence is not an option. If you keep quiet, some people will take advantage of your quietness and they'll start using it against you. Therefore, the public need to hear our opinions, need to know some things. Since our public, they seek some clarity on certain things, then we are here to give it. And therefore, I'm here to tell you the reasons why we have to move from ECOWAS. Well, guys, in case maybe you don't know what is ECOWAS mean, obviously ECOWAS is like the way we're having SADC, which is South Africa, which is composed of South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, Lesotho, Swati, DR Congo, Zambia, Zimbabwe, because they are in the south of Africa. And ECOWAS, it also composed the countries which are found in the western of Africa. That takes Nigeria, that takes Cameroon, that takes Gabon, that takes, all those Togo, the among it Burkina Faso, Ivory Coast, where they recently organized the African nation of CAP, and then more countries who are over the Chad, they are among these organizations. So they are also like that. And come to think of it, before I continue, this is another one thing. I still believe that Africa, we are having a serious problem, because when we're here preaching about the unity of Africa, when we're here thinking on how Africa can come up with their own reserve bank, when we're here talking about Africa having their own money, when we're here thinking about Africa speaking one language or maybe having one military, well, see what is happening with our leaders. So I don't know why they have to go their separate ways, where you find the countries who are found in the south of Africa continent, they are having their own association. You look on the other side, the countries which are in the east of Africa continent, they are having also the association over there. I'm referring to countries such as Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, so on and so on. And then you go in the western of Africa, you find also countries like ECOWAS, they are having also their own organizations. At the end of the day, when are we gonna be united if we're still having different organizations? Because if you go to Europe today, you're not gonna find them having different organizations. They only have Europe, EU. That is all they have, Europe Union. They don't have a different organization of saying that, no, us we belong to this part because we are this side of our continent or whatsoever. So I think Africans, we need also to work on that things, because the more we have different organizations which belongs to different countries, that is the sign of showing that we're still divided and we're not going to be united anytime soon. So this message, I just hope it reach to all our leaders so that they should start considering on how to have only one African union as an organizations which and each Africans can find themselves within. Okay, back to what I was saying. So after now I explained to you what is this so-called ECOWAS means. Well, Mali, Burkina Faso, Niger, they were part of this country because they are in the western countries. But since these three countries, they had military coup, and we also how this military coup took place. Back in days, I'm talking to from 2015 going down, if a country had a military coup, usually that military coup, you'll take power today just for you to be there as a, just to organize a proper elections, which civilians, they'll come and take power. But these three countries, since they took their military, they had their military coup, They don't want to organize elections. Instead, they even try by all means to make sure that civilians are no longer where to be found. And they had given their own reasons. And one of the reasons here, it was all about saying things like, most of our leaders, most of the leaders of these countries, civilians, once they are in power, they are something else compared to what they used to be when they were in the opposition or way before they get to be in power. So, and the reasons that they're giving is because most of these leaders, once they become in power, they become the puppet presidents to these nations. And they are not there to fulfill the service of their people. Instead, now they have to start giving answers, or they have to start answering to their masters who had put them in power. And these three countries which had a military coup, they have understood very well that no, this is what exactly is happening, and we need to stop this right now by making sure that no civilian take the power until things are more settled. And that's what they're doing so far. Now, this ECOWAS, it's supposed to be an organization of Africans, since all the countries who are found there are within Africa border. So it happens that this ECOWAS thing, it is now being manipulated by European unions, by the United States, by France, by British. They are now telling them what to do and what not to do. They have become at the service of these Western countries, as much we are seeing the ICC, the International Criminal Court, as much we are seeing the UN, whereby they have a lot of principles, they have a lot of laws which they had put on place, saying that everyone who's part of these organizations, they should apply and comply with these terms and conditions. But when it's about time for them to fulfill it, when it's about time for them to do it, they don't do it. They don't do it. You know why? Because they are now at the service of a certain countries which have to tell them what to do, what to approve and what not to approve. So, how did ECOWAS end up turning against Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso? Well, let me tell you what happened. So, what happened at first, it all started in Mali. In Mali, they've been having a serious problem over there with terrorists. This is the same problem which happened in both countries, by the way, for your own information. So, since they've been having these problems, we once told you that this was just an excuse for the Western to have a good opportunity for them to come and steal the minerals of these three countries. And then what we saw later on, it was all about France sending their troops over there, saying that no, we're here to fight against the terrorists. And the next things, those militaries, they were busy committing serious crime by raping young women over there in the village, by doing things and abusing humanity over there. And then the president who was there during that time, he was not doing nothing because he was well controlled by France. As Busisiwe Mkwabane had said, that the problem of African leaders, they are all puppets.
The failure of the African Union, because, they are failing to do that, but even the countries in Africa should be making sure that they put Africa and Africa's agenda as a priority. And we had the African Union Agenda 2063 when Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma was still there. And one of their key focus, or one of their aspirations, was that we need to have an Africa which is gun-free, no war, no killings. And that they were supposed to achieve by 2020, but they failed. That is still happening. But I think the issue of Congo and other African countries which are rich in mineral resources, I think we know that the West is creating this instability so that they can continuously loot their mineral resources. So it's basically that. And you would find that we have a situation in Africa where we are still not yet putting Africa first and making sure that we make our resources to work for us. And by that, we will be able to even sustain ourselves, not even depend on any other country. But unfortunately, then we have a lot of leaders in Africa who are unfortunately puppets to the West and who are controlled and who are placed by the West to lead those countries.
Would you say our president is one of them?
Hey, Mr. McGee.
Yes, it is true. Most of African leaders, they are puppets. They are at the service of the Western countries because they believe that they owe it to the Western countries instead of thinking that they owe their people of their countries. Instead, they don't do that because they are at the service of their Western medias, at the service of their Western countries. They get to tell them what to do and what not to do. That is what Busisiwe Mukobani had also to clarify, because it does not make sense. It does not make sense whereby you find countries in Africa having a lot of conflict, and this conflict does not finish at all. It is kind of a conflict that it always be there and for years and years, all because these people, they want to do this so that they'll keep on stealing the minerals of these African countries. And that's what's been happening in Mali, Burkina Faso, and in Niger. So when these militaries, they realized this game, and then they were like, no, we can't continue to be led by a puppet president who's not answering to the questions and problems of our people, but they are at the service of the Western countries. Therefore, we can start now organizing military coup. And that's how they start organizing all this military coup. When they start organizing this military coup, it happened that once they took the power, the Western countries who were benefiting from all these presidents who have been kicked out from their office, they were no longer benefiting or getting anything from these countries because they have lost their access to these countries, and now they are having people who are against them. They are having people who are true Pan-Africans and who want to make sure that this country can liberate themselves from all these Western countries. And then that is how they start going crazy. Do you guys still remember the previous military coup which took place in Niger, on how France have to threaten that military government, telling them that no, you guys, you are not gonna lead this country because we are not recognizing you.
We are not involved. We should not give in to coup leaders a narrative which says that France has become our enemy. The problem of Nigerians today is coup leaders who are putting them in danger by giving up the fight against terrorism, by abandoning an economic policy which was good for the country, and who are losing all international funding which was allowing the people to lift out of poverty. Our policy is simple. We do not recognize coup leaders. We support the president who has not resigned, and we are committed to standing by his side.
France did reject this military government. It is not because they had a good reason to reject it. No, it is because they can feel that the advantage, their benefits, all the opportunities that they have in these countries, they are no longer going to have it if they still having this military government on place. And they have to make sure that they should go and remove all this military government. And France did that. You guys, you saw how France, they even threatened Niger, saying that they'll invade Niger with their militaries, because if this military government does not want to leave the power to civilians, then they will go ahead and invade Niger. Where have you seen such a thing? Whereby you find a sovereign country being threatened by another sovereign country, saying that no, we'll invade your country, all just because the people of that country decided to remove the president who was in power. Unfortunately, that did not work for them. Do you know why? Because we also, the unity of these three countries, how they came in together and put their power together and make sure that France should not come and dominate them, US should not come and tell them what to do, and they manage to chase these countries out of their countries. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video until now. I really do appreciate your presence here, because we feel like it was very important that we come and play you of what Ibrahim Traore had said the day before yesterday and give you our point of view through our analysis. I hope you have also benefited something in this video, so please don't walk out free without you making sure that you share also with us what you have learned from this message that Ibrahim Traore had given. Drop your comment in the comment section, we'll have a look on it. If you have any topic that you want to suggest to us so that we can speak it about it, well, go ahead and drop it in the comment section down below so that we will have look on it. But before all, make sure that you like this video in your numbers before you leave. I'm begging you, it is free of charge. We're not charging you anything, it's not gonna cost you any cent. So please just make sure that you give us your thumbs up, you like this video, because we want this kind of message to reach to even more people out there. We want this kind of message to reach to African leaders, our leaders that should understand what us as a young people of Africa continent we are thinking and how we want to take our future into our own hands. So that's the reason why we encourage you that you have to like these videos so that will go and reach to many audience out there. But if you find something more beneficial in this video or things that we spoke here, if it does really make sense to you and you would like to catch more from us, well, you just have to hit that subscribe button so that whenever we're live here, you will be able to get a notification and join this big family of Cool Bars TV. Well, that will be all for now. For now, continue to be yourself, be good, be kind, have respect for everyone in order for you to be respected. May God bless you all. Also again very soon in our next video. Ciao, ciao.